The sun had just begun to rise over the city skyline when Marcus Whitfield, the CEO of Whitfield Properties, zipped up a worn janitor's jumpsuit and slid on an old baseball cap. He glanced at himself in the mirror, his usual sharp suit replaced with the uniform of a maintenance worker. His normally polished shoes had been swapped for scuffed work boots. For the first time in years, Marcus looked unremarkable, invisible even, a role he planned to embody fully. But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop a comment below and please like the video. Thank you. Whitfield Properties was one of the largest real estate companies in the state, known for its luxurious developments and impeccable client service. Marcus had built the company from the ground up, defying odds as a black entrepreneur in a predominantly white cutthroat industry. But as the business expanded, Marcus noticed cracks in the foundation, not in the buildings they developed, but in the company culture. Reports of employees mistreating junior staff, showing a lack of respect, and cutting corners had reached his desk. Yet, his investigations always hit dead ends. The culprits knew how to behave when they were being watched. That's when Marcus decided to go undercover. Early that Monday morning, Marcus entered the towering Whitfield Properties headquarters through the back entrance. He'd arranged for one of the janitors to take the day off and had temporarily taken his place. The cleaning crew supervisor, unaware of his true identity, handed him a mop and bucket, giving him a rundown of his duties. The plan was simple: blend in, observe, and see firsthand how his employees treated those they deemed beneath them. The day began uneventfully as Marcus quietly mopped the lobby floor, overhearing snippets of conversations from passing employees. Most ignored him completely, their eyes gliding over him as if he didn't exist. Some were polite, offering a quick good morning as they rushed to their offices. But as the hours went on, Marcus encountered behavior that left him stunned. In the break room, two of the company's top sales executives, Ethan and Laura, entered, chatting loudly. Ethan was known as a charismatic closer, and Laura was one of the firm's highest-earning agents. Marcus was wiping down a table when they noticed him. "Hey, you missed a spot," Ethan sneered, pointing to an imaginary smudge on the table. Laura laughed, adding, "Careful, Ethan. You might get his mop water on your shoes. Those probably cost more than his paycheck for the month." Marcus stayed silent, his grip tightening on the rag as he continued cleaning. The pair didn't stop there. "You know, people like him should be grateful they even have jobs," Ethan said, loud enough for Marcus to hear. "All they have to do is push a mop around. Must be nice to not have any real responsibilities." Marcus wanted to respond, but he held back. He wasn't there to argue. He was there to see the truth. Later in the day, as Marcus was cleaning a conference room, Laura entered with a group of clients. She looked at him with disdain. "Can you finish up somewhere else? We're about to have an important meeting, and the smell of cleaning supplies isn't exactly welcoming." Her tone was icy, and Marcus nodded, quietly leaving the room. As he walked out, he heard her laughing with the clients, joking about how some people don't know how to get out of the way. By the end of the day, Marcus had witnessed enough. He'd seen other employees, particularly those in lower-ranking roles, treated with indifference or outright disrespect. But Ethan and Laura's behavior stood out the most. They didn't just look down on him, they actively mocked and belittled him, assuming he was powerless. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the office early, this time in his usual tailored suit. When the employees arrived, they were greeted by the sight of their CEO standing in the center of the lobby, his presence commanding attention. Ethan and Laura, smug and confident as always, walked in without realizing what was about to happen. "Good morning, everyone," Marcus began, his voice steady but firm. "I'd like to address something very important." Employees gathered around, sensing the seriousness in his tone. Ethan and Laura joined the crowd, whispering among themselves. "Yesterday," Marcus continued, "I spent the day working as a janitor here at Whitfield Properties. I wanted to see how our staff is treated by one another when they think no one is watching." A ripple of surprise spread through the crowd. Ethan's face paled, and Laura's confident smirk faltered. "What I witnessed was eye-opening," Marcus said. Some of you showed kindness and respect regardless of what role someone appeared to have. But others— He turned his gaze to Ethan and Laura, who were now shifting uncomfortably. Others demonstrated arrogance, cruelty, and a complete lack of the values this company stands for. Marcus took a step closer to the pair, his voice growing colder. Ethan, Laura, your behavior yesterday was unacceptable. You mocked and demeaned someone you assumed was beneath you, all while representing this company. That kind of behavior has no place here. Ethan stammered, Mr. Whitfield, Marcus cut him off. Save it. As of this moment, you are both terminated. Pack your things and leave. The room fell silent. Ethan and Laura stood frozen, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. They had no choice but to comply, leaving under the watchful eyes of their colleagues. Turning back to the remaining employees, Marcus spoke with renewed determination. Let this be a reminder. No one in this company is worthless. Whether you're in a corner office or cleaning the floors, you are a part of what makes Whitfield Properties successful. Respect is not optional, it's a requirement. If you can't uphold that, you don't belong here. The employees nodded, many of them looking at Marcus with newfound admiration. His actions had sent a clear message. Leadership wasn't about titles or power. It was about integrity and standing up for what was right. As Marcus walked back to his office, he felt a sense of satisfaction. The company culture he had worked so hard to build was back on track and the cracks had been sealed. Whitfield Properties would thrive, not just as a business, but as a community where everyone, regardless of their role, was valued. As Ethan and Laura gathered their belongings, the murmurs in the office grew louder. People exchanged glances, some whispering in disbelief at what had just unfolded. Others, particularly those who had witnessed Ethan and Laura's arrogance firsthand, couldn't hide their satisfaction. Marcus, calm but resolute, returned to his office, leaving a lingering tension in the air. After a few moments, Marcus called for an emergency meeting in the conference room. Every department head, team leader, and senior employee was required to attend. The room filled quickly, the employees' faces a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Many wondered if more firings were imminent. Standing at the head of the long conference table, Marcus surveyed the room. His presence commanded attention. When he finally spoke, his tone was measured, but there was no mistaking the gravity of his words. Yesterday was not just an exercise in observation, Marcus began. It was a test of character. This company was built on the principles of respect, integrity, and collaboration. But somewhere along the way, those values have been overshadowed by ego, entitlement, and a disregard for others. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. I've always believed that the way we treat people who can do nothing for us says everything about our character. Yesterday, I saw how some of you treated a man you believed to be a janitor. What you didn't realize is that man was me. Gasps rippled through the room. People shifted uncomfortably in their seats, some looking down at their hands, while others sat frozen, replaying their interactions from the previous day. I want to make one thing clear, Marcus continued, his voice rising slightly. I don't just care about the bottom line. I care about the people who make this company what it is. From the maintenance staff to the executives, everyone here plays a role. And if you can't treat your colleagues with dignity and respect, you have no place at Whitfield Properties. A hand went up near the back of the room. It was Clara, the head of the HR department. Mr. Whitfield, she said hesitantly, what steps will we take moving forward to ensure this doesn't happen again? Marcus nodded, appreciating the question. Effective immediately, we will be implementing mandatory sensitivity and leadership training for all employees, starting with senior management. Additionally, I'll be establishing an anonymous reporting system where anyone can share concerns about workplace behavior without fear of retaliation. The room remained silent, but Marcus could see a mix of relief and approval in the employees' expressions. He wasn't done yet, though. There's one more thing, he said. I've decided to reward those who embody the values of this company. Yesterday, I noticed a few employees who went out of their way to be kind, even when they didn't have to. One of them was James, from the accounting department. James, can you stand up? A ripple of surprise spread through the crowd. Ethan's face paled, and Laura's confident smirk faltered. "What I witnessed was eye-opening," Marcus said. "Some of you showed kindness and respect regardless of what role someone appeared to have. But others—" He turned his gaze to Ethan and Laura, who were now shifting uncomfortably. "Others demonstrated arrogance, cruelty, and a complete lack of the values this company stands for." Marcus took a step closer to the pair, his voice growing colder. "Ethan, Laura, your behavior yesterday was unacceptable. You mocked and demeaned someone you assumed was beneath you, all while representing this company. That kind of behavior has no place here." Ethan stammered. "Mr. Whitfield, Marcus cut him off. "Save it. As of this moment, you are both terminated. Pack your things and leave." James, a quiet man in his late 20s, looked startled but obeyed. He had been the only person to stop and ask Marcus if he needed help when he had been struggling with a heavy cleaning cart. "James, your actions yesterday didn't go unnoticed," Marcus said with a rare smile. "You treated me with respect, without knowing who I was. That kind of integrity deserves recognition. I'm promoting you to senior accountant, effective immediately, with a significant raise." The room erupted into applause, and James looked both stunned and grateful. "Thank you, Mr. Whitfield," he managed to say, his voice shaking. As the applause died down, Marcus concluded the meeting. "This isn't just about rooting out bad behavior. It's about fostering a culture where everyone feels valued and respected. Change starts today. Let's make this company a place we can all be proud of." When the meeting ended, employees left the room with a lot to think about. Some were inspired, while others, particularly those who had behaved poorly, felt a sense of impending reckoning. Marcus knew he couldn't change everyone overnight, but he was determined to set a new standard. That evening, as Marcus sat in his office overlooking the city, he reflected on the day's events. He knew he had made the right decision, but he also understood that true change would take time and vigilance. For now, though, he was content knowing that Whitfield Properties was on its way to becoming not just a successful company, but a truly exceptional one.